Hey, what is going on, Feral community? We have a lot to talk about, you guys. So, first of all, I do want to say yesterday was a huge beta update. It was down for quite a long time. Was really crossing my fingers that we would get some Feral content, some Feral changes, and nothing happened. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty depressing. I was like, dang, we only got so long until Shadowlands releases, and still nothing. Um, so, yeah, that's that. I also want to go ahead and say, you guys, because beta was down, I was like, and I'm off work right now. I was like, I'll just check on the Feral Discord. Ooh, you guys, it is so bad right now. You won't believe. I was like, I felt the need to just do damage control. And I was like, oh my gosh, please help these individuals. And it's just like, I've been asked before to make a Feral Discord. And it's like, and it's just like, I'm not really good with Discord. And I've seen some Discords that are like really popping and legit. And it's just like, I've always been scared away. I'm going to make you guys a Feral Discord for you Feral YouTube community because, man, it is bad. I got to show you guys. It was nuts. Okay, here's the best one. Somebody asks, is Feral good right now? and they were saying, yeah, Feral is good. And I was like, oh my good lord, this poor individual wants to play Feral, is considering playing Feral, hops into the Feral Discord, hey guys, is Feral pretty good? And he gets fed a bunch of bull crap. I feel bad for this individual. I was like, this individual is going to waste 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of the expansion trying to make Feral work, and it is never going to work. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I am so sorry. Feral is really bad right now. Yeah, I was like, okay, well, maybe there's a lot of pride on the Discord, and maybe that's what it is. But let's go a little further. It is, I don't know if you've been on the Discord right now in a little bit, but I was like, oh my goodness, they are telling people to run Feral Frenzy, the PvP talent in single target, get this, and AoE. And I was like, oh man, what? And check this out, somebody had the thought, good for them, man. It doesn't take much thought. Somebody was like, hold up, wait, is that good? Are you for sure? And you know what? They're like, yes, yeah, Feral Frenzy. And I was like, oh my good lord, this poor individual. And I had to tell him, I was like, hey, saw your chat in Feral. You realize none of these idiots play Feral in Shadowlands, right? Feral Discord is full of 5 people circle jerking themselves. I was like, oh my good lord, and I'm so sorry to be offensive, but you gotta be circle jerking yourselves hard for the blood out of your head to be somewhere else. Because what? Come on, Feral Discord, what is going on? Check out this one. This one is my favorite, of course. Somebody says, is Blue's content any good? I was watching Cybear and Blue for Feral videos. He doesn't really give the best information, no. Oh my good lord. Check this out, you guys. You see this? You see this? Each video clip right here is about 3.5 minutes long. Okay, this is 3 hours of me sitting doing dummy damage. 3 hours, okay? Nobody wants to do this. The only reason I do this is because I'm telling something. I'm putting something out there that a lot of people are probably going to watch, and I'm not going to give you the wrong information. Nobody on the Feral Discord is doing this. Do you know what they are doing? They are telling people that, oh, I simmed this and this is good. Please, anybody, inform me if you know, because I do not want to be wasting any of my damn time if you can sim yourself in Shadowlands, but for what I can find, you cannot. Raidbots is 9.0 pre-patch mode. Only squished level 50 characters will sim. And wait, Pre-patch sims are generally unstable. Not only can you not sim any Shadowland information, the ones that you can sim on pre-patch are generally unreliable. So please tell me, Feral Discord, how are you informing people what to do? I never see you in Shadowlands. There's only like 2 people I've seen in Shadowlands that are playing Feral. I've had pugs tell me, "Oh, dude, what's up, man? You're like the only person that plays Feral." Yeah. And you know something else? Blue provides the wrong content. Feral Discord, when are you guys going to come to your senses? I get bashed by the Feral Discord because I give information that is months prior to what they are going to be saying. Look at this. September 2nd. You guys, September 2nd, I didn't even have beta. And I said, hold up, Kyrian looks legit, y'all. Kyrian looks really good. And you know what everybody's saying? Oh, Night Fae. Oh, Night Fae. You know what the guides are saying now? Kyrian. And this is not to pride myself up. I don't give a damn about that. But I have to make a Feral Discord now and monitor it because of the retards just circle jerking each other. Come on now. Let's get it together. What are you guys, like 5? Whatever. I hope you guys enjoy this video. This is some real accurate shit. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace. All right, we're going to start things off. We did start with the Bite Legendary as our first legendary. As you can see here, we did 3 tests. Very consistent damage, which I'm surprised because it's a procky legendary. But 4K. What you see here is I actually did these 3 tests, and then I did every single test after this. And I came back to this legendary, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I've really confident now in my rotation after doing so many tests. And then I was like, hey, let me just try this one out again. And I was able to pump out 4.3K. And I probably can, boost those numbers up quite a bit if I wanted to. But it's still the strongest legendary here with 4 overall is 4.075. Second, we're going to see here is when I start manipulating the stats, I lower my item level gear, and then I just run here, crit and mastery build. We see the first test was 3.6, second is 3.4, and the third is 3.6 for a total of 3.533. For this third test, I was a little surprised. This is with our haste and mastery build. So the first one was 3.5, second is 3.6, and the third is 3.5 for a total of 3.533, which is actually really good comparable to the other builds. And for the last one, we did a crit and verse build. This one I had to run a lot more because I was getting a lot of procs, and those procs were critting. The crit ended up being pretty ridiculous, even higher than the crit that I have. So I had to run more tests here, but the first test was 3.8, second is 3.7, third is 3.2, fourth is 3.1. I think the total here is a really good judge, is 3.45, kind of the middle ground. Just after all of the tests, looking it over, this legendary is performing extremely well. I know it's RNG. We talked about that a little bit on my last video. The things that I really like about this legendary is it consistently performs very well through no matter the stats that you have, right? What's really interesting, what I really like about it is actually it gets an added benefit for haste. Haste actually increases the damage by quite a bit. We know with any type of bite build, crit is going to do a huge amounts of, it's going to increase our damage by so much. But we see here when I ran the haste and mastery build, it made up for it just by the fact of having more procs happen. So haste will increase the amount of procs. I really like this, and I'm really happy that it does this, especially because into the future of Shadowlands, when we start getting more stats and we start getting degrading value of our stats because we hit kind of a penalty limit, we can just start funneling more of our stats into haste and still get an added benefit. Normally we would go versatility, which is still probably something we can do, but we know, hey, if we have a piece of gear that has haste on it, it's not completely trash like it may have been in the past. All right, next we're going to start looking at the Bleed Legendary. We tested out first, of course, with our best gear. We didn't run a lot of tests. They were pretty consistent tests, and this is not going to be the winner by far, so we just stopped at that. Our first one is 3.7, and our second test is 3.7 for a total of 3.7 average. Now the second test, I do want to get some information as how they performed though with gear. This will help me in, AoE and Mythic Plus dungeons. So I did do these tests a little bit more in depth. But the first one with the Crit Mastery build is 3.3k, second is 3.7k, and the third is 3.4k for a total of 3.466k. Our third test is we ran the Legendary with the Haste Mastery build. This one performed very consistent, so I didn't run any more tests, but it was 3.4k the first one, 3.4k the second one, for a total of 3.4. And our very last test, we ran a Crit Versatility build. Our first test was 3.2, second is 3.6, third is 3.5, for a total of 3.43k. So with this Bleed Legendary, I had quite of differences of opinions or something that kind of changed my opinions. Now, obviously, being a Legendary that increases your bleeds, they tick faster, they become a bigger source of your damage. I'm more concerned about the stats so that I know what to bring into my Mythic Plus. Now, what's really interesting is I really thought the Haste Mastery build would perform a lot better than it did. In fact, it was the lowest out of all the tests. And what surprised me is that the Crit Versatility build, which actually had the least amount of mastery in it, performed better. So that kind of leads me to the conclusion that crit is extremely important in any type of bleed build, and we kind of know this is the case anyways for Feral in general. And so crit's really important. Haste, probably not additive to the Legendary bonus like I thought. So what I mean by additive is I figured, okay, our bleeds are ticking faster. If I incorporate quite a bit of haste, it will only make them tick a little bit faster than they would just with the Legendary alone, right? I don't think that's the case. It may have some type of scaling thing where it's just like, hey, your bleeds are ticking this fast. It's going to require so much more haste to be able to, really trigger a faster bleed. So I think that's probably something that I'll take into my Mythic Plus is, hey, haste isn't as important as I thought it would be. And then instead put those stats into Verse, because we see that the Crit Verse build, which has not much mastery at all, still performed well. So I think the overall Crit Verse and mastery in a dungeon build would really benefit this Legendary very well. All right, moving on to the next Legendary, we have the Burst Legendary. For the very first test with the best gear that I had, we ran 3.9, second one was 4k, and the third test was 3.8k for a total of 3.9k. Our second test, where we could do the Crit Mastery build, we ran 3.4, second was 3.3, and the third was 3.5 for a total of 3.4k. Our third test, we ran the Haste Mastery build. Only ran this twice because we weren't getting really good results. But we have 3.2. Second test we have 3.3 for a total of 3.25. And then for the last test, this is one I thought would perform well. We have the crit verse build, which is 3.6, 3.2, and 3.6 again, for a total of 3.466. All right, so with this burst build, we can see that Cat Eye Curio is performing very well, just closely behind the RNG Legendary. And I totally understand, hey, I don't really like the RNG Legendary, the Bite Legendary, because it is RNG. That's totally fine. This is just performing a little less. I think it is still an easier rotation because the Bite Legendary has to, it's got some randomness where it might just eat through your Bloodtown procs where you're not really expecting it. Totally fine. Now with this one, we see that the crit verse build is performing the best. Now I did kind of predict that one in my last video. Now the reason behind it is just like, well, what are you doing with this extra energy? Well, you're going to be casting shreds and brutal slashes more often, right? We're not going to be casting our bleeds more often than another legendary just because our bleeds are really static. They go on the target and they're going to stay on the target for a period of time. Now, because we have more shreds, swipes, brutal slashes, and so forth, the stat that buffs those is verse. Now, it doesn't mean this build isn't going to benefit from mastery. It still will, but we see that verse also benefits, which is okay. For the last one, we are going to run Feral Frenzy. It has been suggested to the community, so we might as well go ahead and test it. Now, I did test this with the Bite Legendary as well. We have some data right there. Now, I wanted to be most consistent, though, because the Bite Legendary does deal with RNG. So the video I'll be showing, we're going to be doing with the Burst Legendary. The test, first test is 3.9, second test is 3.7, third test is 3.8, for a total of 3.8. If you go back, the Burst Legendary itself with Blood Talons did 3.9, so it is just under that. And same with the Bite Legendary, it just performs just under Blood Talons. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about Feral Frenzy. To be honest with you guys, it's performing quite well. I didn't expect it to perform that well. So in both scenarios, I ran it with the Bite build. I didn't show the Bite build, but it just ran under the Bite build versus Blood Talons. Same with Cat Eye Curio. Cat Eye Curio with the Blood Talons just performed just a slight bit better. Now, I would actually suggest if you're newer for Feral or didn't play much of the pre-patch, basically you're just not comfortable with the new Blood Talons. New Blood Talons is really difficult, you guys. It's really difficult. I've been playing with it a while, and it is still difficult to master. And And I'd say you would honestly probably do more damage, since they are very comparable. You would probably do more damage with Feral Frenzy. Now, what happens is we're losing a lot of bite damage with Feral Frenzy. Obviously, with Blood Talons, it's buffing your bite by 30%. Feral Frenzy just can't do that, right? Now, we're losing a lot of bite damage, but Feral Frenzy is almost making up for it, as we see in the graphs. But the thing is, I don't see that this is going to scale well into Shadowlands. Shadowlands scales. I think this build will slowly go away. But yeah, as a very beginning of Shadowlands, I think this may be a way to go.